Hello everybody, welcome back to another Warhammer 40k 8th edition battle report. 1500 points of the Tyranids going up against the Eldar list, which is now fully painted, and this will be the last showing of that specific list. We'll mix it up next time or add to the army, we'll see. Coming to you live from Pumpkin Planet 7, the 7th most populated planet in regards to pumpkins. We'll start by going over the army list and then randomise ourselves a mission. So you'll be used to this list by now, but now it's fully painted, finally, took a while. It's a super heavy auxiliary and the vanguard deployment of Iyanden themed Eldar, being led by the Spirit Seer, who has Smite and Quicken and Restrain. We've got two 5-man squads of Wraith Guard, two Wraith Lords with Shuriken Cannon, Shuriken Catapult. The super heavy auxiliary is of course the Wraith Knight again, who is proving very powerful in these low point games. Then we have Wraith Blades with the Axe and Shields. They're in a Wave Serpent with Star Engines. The Warlord trait is the Iyanden one, and he has the Psycho, what is it called? Psycho-Ceridrome or something of Iyanden, which can make Wraith constructs fight harder, but they have a chance of taking D3 wounds afterwards once per game. So I think that's it. We went into more detail about the list the first time they got their showing, but now fully painted. Hopefully it looks okay. Anyway, let's have a look at the Tyranids. And here is the Hive Fleet Kraken Tyranids going up against Iyanden, which I think is very thematic, because I think it's Hive Fleet Kraken that ate most of the Iyanden Craftworld, which is why they rely on Wraith constructs. This is a Vanguard as well, being led by the Swarm Lord, who has Catalyst and Onslaught, and obviously he shares Smite with the other Psychers, for example the Zoanthropes, they've got Smite. Then we have the Hive Guard, Tyrant Guard, whichever, the shieldy ones. We have Death Leaper, we've got 3 Tyranid Warriors, one with a Venom Cannon. We have 2 Carnifexes, Thornback Carnifexes with enhanced senses and the usual setup. Horsepex as it comes. Flying Hive Tyrant who has Domination or Dominion, sorry. And the artifact, what's it called? Chameleonic Skin, Chameleonic Mutation, so he's harder to hit. And then a Tranifex with the Rupture Cannon. I think that covers everything, so now we're going to have to randomise ourselves a mission. Sorry about the light reflecting the way it is here, it's quite early in the morning today. So let's start with objective. The objective we rolled is Invasion. The players roll off starting with the winner, they then take it in turns to set up 1 objective marker each anywhere in their own deployment that's more than 6 from battlefield edge. A player wins immediately if they control both objective markers at the end of their opponent's turn. Okay, for a low model count list like the Eldar, that's kind of tough, but Invasion it is then. Deployment. Standard short edges, so this edge and then over there with 24 inches between the armies. And the twist. What a twist. Grudge match. Units do not have to take morale tests in this battle. That could have been amazing depending on the armies playing, but Tyranids, if they're in Synapse, are fearless. Wraith constructs are what, 9 and 10? So, not super important for this match, but grudge match is, so it's an invasion grudge match, which is actually super apt for Eldar and Tyranids. Okay, that's it. And it's a case of winning immediately, if it happens. Otherwise it's a draw. We'll be back at deployment. So here's how things are looking at deployment. The Eldar have deployed on this short edge, and this is their objective, the Imperial Aquila here. And 1 unit of the Wraith Guard, 1 Wraith Lord, and the Spirit Seer have chosen to defend it. In terms of things off the table, well, the Wraith Blades are inside the Wave Serpent, but for the Tyranid side, Death Leaper starts off the table, and the Winged Hive Tyrant is starting off the table as well, so there's a few nasty things that could come in, hence why they're kind of very guarded around their objective. But the other flank, Wraith Knight, the other Wraith Lord, and the other Wraith Guard are right there, and that takes it up. They're up to the line, basically, right on the line. And then for the Tyranids, they're basically all on the line as well, because they're Hive Fleet Kraken and they run very fast. So we've got the Tyrant Guard, or Hive Tyrant, whatever one they are. The Stormlord, Stormlord? You know what I mean. The Swarm Lord, not the Storm Lord. You've got the Carnifexes. Now this is their objective, it's just inside 6 inches, so that's allowed. And it's being guarded by the Tyranid Warriors. And they've got the Zoanthropes, Tranifex, and the Horsepex over there, and again, Death Leaper and the Hive Tyrant are off the table. So the Eldar are going to be going first unless the Tyranids decide to steal the initiative. Oh! The Tyranids did steal the initiative. Well, Tyranids turn 1 coming up. At the end of movement and psychic for the Tyranids, most of them advanced, which I suppose isn't much of a surprise. The Tyranid warrior stayed protecting the objective. The Tyrannifex stayed still, so it has its bonus when it shoots in the shooting phase. The Horsepex ran, only got an extra 3 inches. Zoanthropes moved up slightly. The Thornbacks, they deployed together, but remember they count as separate after that, so they just moved normally, so they will be shooting, and that's those plus the Tyrannifex are basically the only guns they can shoot. Over here, the Tyrant Guard, Hive Guard. They advanced, they did quite well. The Swarmlord just followed behind normally. Cast Catalyst on them so they can ignore wounds on a 5+. 5+. And Smite was just in range to get the Wraithlord. Only took off 1, so he's got 9 wounds remaining. So that takes us to the Tyranid's first shooting phase. At the end of Tyranid's turn 1 proper, they had very effective shooting considering how few guns they had. This Thornback shot into the Wraith Knight, managed to plink off 4 wounds, so that's him down to 20. He obviously has plenty left, but considering he was wounding on 5s, that was actually pretty effective. The Tyrannifex stood still so it could fire its ruptured cannon twice. It did so for 8 inches at the Wraithlord right here. Managed to take off 12 or 13 wounds when it has 10, so just one shot. Well, it didn't technically one shot, but in one round of shooting, it was shot. No first blood or anything like that, but that obviously is a lot of the backline defense guarding the objective taken care of. But with that, we're going into the Iyanden Eldar turn 1. So at the end of movement for the Eldar turn 1, there was no psychic because the Spirit Seer is guarding the backline with the other Wraith Guard. So the Wave Serpent advanced up, and with its vectored star engines, whatever, it rolls 2d6 and adds that to its 16-inch movement, rolled Snake Eyes. So it couldn't get further than sitting on this wonderful, like, Maori-esque head, which I think makes it immune to close combat, although obviously it's got to weather a shot from the Tyrannifex most likely next turn. Over this end, the Wraith Knight just stomped forward its normal movement, bearing down on the Carnifex that hurt it. Over here, the Wraithlord is doing the same towards the Hive Guard, and the other Wraith Guard are following behind. They're pretty slow though. So there will be a lot of shooting to be done, and we'll be back right after that. At the end of the shooting phase for the Eldar turn 1, it's feeling like one of those games where just the dice want you to lose. So it felt pretty bad, but we'll go over it. The Wave Serpent, it moved, but it has assault weapons, so it can fire at -1. It did so at the Zoanthropes, did 1 wound to one of them, not too much there. The only effective shooting was the Wraith Knight, which fired everything into the Tyrannifex. Its 2 big cannons got through, its Sun Cannons didn't, but the big cannons put it down to 6 wounds remaining, so it's bracketed now as well, so it's harder for it to shoot. Other than that, if we come around this end of the table, the Wraith Guard over here were out of range because they're only 12-inch range. The Wraith Lord fired everything, shuriken cannons, shuriken catapults, into the Tyrant Guard, who I called Hive Guard when they're Tyrant Guard. They both blend together. Doesn't matter though, because every roll whiffed. Didn't even matter that they had Catalyst, it just was a total whiff. But there is going to be assaults. The Wraith Lord is going to charge them, and the Wraith Knight is going to charge that gentleman. So we're back after that. So at the end of Eldar turn 1 proper, the Wraith Knight absolutely obliterated the Carnifex. 2 wounds got through, and they do d6 with his Wraithbone fists, and 2 6s were rolled, so never mind about the bad rolling. Got obliterated, it moved forwards, its consolidation 3 inches. Over here, the Wraithlord didn't do as well. He killed 1 of the Tyrant Guard and did 1 wound to the remaining one. In return, Catalyst did also protect them there. In return, though, he lost 4 wounds, so he's down to 5. There's no more Altes because of the twist, the grudge match twist. So that's as things stand as we move into turn 2 for the Tyranids. So to get turn 2 started for the Tyranids, there's been some invasions, the Winged Hive Tyrant and Death Leaper. Death Leaper's target is obviously the Spirit Seer because that's the only Eldar character in the army. They both landed 9 inches away from this Wraith Guard unit here. They're obviously gunning for the objective. Perspex charged, his advance was an extra 6, so he's getting pretty close as well. Over here, the Tyrant Guard are obviously still in combat. The Swarmlord has broken off to try and slow down the Wraith Knight. It's basically Operation Kill the Wraith Knight down here. Catalyst failed to apply to those over there again. Smite though from the Swarmlord and Zoanthropes have knocked, I think, 2 wounds in total, no 4 wounds in total I think it was, off the Wraith Knight, so he's getting down there now. And other than that, the Tyrannifex has stayed still again, so it can fire its weapons twice, and it's going to make a decision. Does it, does it help kill the Wraith Knight, or does it try and destroy the transport up there? Keeping in mind the transport still has serpent shields up. We will see what decisions are made after Tyranids shooting. So it's still got the assault phase to go, but as far as shooting, the Tyranid warriors, the Thornback, all shot into the Wraith Knight, did quite well. It's got, what, 16 wounds remaining? Yep, 16 wounds remaining. So he's hurt, but remember Iyanden counts their wounds remaining as double for what profile, so he has to be basically dead before he even gets affected by it. The Tyrannifex opted to fire twice into the Wave Serpent to try and stop the Wraith Blades inside getting close enough to be a problem. Didn't do so well, and the Serpent Shield reduced the damage by 1, so it's down to 11 wounds remaining over there. The Tyrannifex, so many similar words, is shooting at ballistic skill 5 now because of his wounds remaining, which didn't help with his hit chances against the Wave Serpent either. So, as far as new assaults, the Swarmlord and the Thornback are trying to slow down the Wraith Knight. I think that was everything that was declared. Oh, no, of course not. Both these people over here are going to try a 9-inch charge over there. So it'll be a busy assault phase, and we'll be back after the dice has been resolved. And at the end of the assault phase for Tyranids, that was very effective, other than Death Leaper and the Hive Tyrant failing the 9-inch charges. Also, the Hive Tyrant went down to 7 wounds thanks to some good Overwatch. Death Leaper wasn't touched though. Over here, however, the Swarmlord absolutely decimated the Wraith Knight, leaving it on literally 1 wound remaining, which means for his stats he counts as 2, so he's in his bottom bracket, so he's hitting on 5s. He was still able to do 4 wounds to the Thornback, who I think took some wounds on the way in, because he only had 6 left on the way in. But the Wraith Knight's only on 1 wound. It's going to go down. The Swarmlord did not care for this gigantic Lord of War at all. So, good work for him there. Also down here, the Tyrant Guard absolutely destroyed the Wraith Knight thanks to their crushing claws, even though that isn't what they're modelled with, but that's what they're using. Utterly destroyed him, so they consolidated forwards 3 inches. He's gone. That's both Wraith Lords off the field. And that takes us into Eldar turn 2. End of movement in Psychic for Eldar turn 2. Obviously, just some shuffling down here. The Spirits here did try to cast Smite, but it was denied by the Hive Tyrant, so he's still on 7 wounds over here. This Wraith Guard unit, in the military technique known as the L formation, has moved, approaching here, obviously. The Wraith Knight can fall back and still fire and still charge because of Titanic something or other, Titanic Construct. So he's fallen back to where you see him, so he's going to try and shoot even though his ballistic skill's on 5. The Wave Serpent did much better with its Vectored Star Engines, or whatever they're called, for 2d6 this time, got an extra 10 inches, and has parked itself right here to drop off its load, either from being exploded in the next turn, or in the start of the next turn after that. So, there is going to be shooting. Be looking for, hopefully, them getting killed, and for the Wraith Knight just to do something before it gets inevitably destroyed. Oh, it explodes as well. Interesting. Anyway, back in a second. So with the assault phase still to go, here's how shooting went. The Spirit Seer shot its pistol into the Hive Tyrant and whiffed, or failed the wound actually, but the Wraith Guard did very well with the Wraith Cannons, got him down to 1 wound remaining. It's actually a turn of quite a lot of units getting delayed. The Wraith Guard over here deleted the Guard, the Hive Guard, Tyrant Guard. It'll never stick. Either way, it doesn't matter because they're gone. There's just a stain left over where they used to be. The Wave Serpent managed to get 1 wound off one of the Tyranid warriors there, and the Wraith Knight, despite wounding on 5s, managed to... He shot everything at the Tyrannifex, although it didn't come to the Sun Cannons. Got lucky rolls with his big guns and deleted the Tyrannifex. So he is gone. There is going to be a charge in the charge phase, only 1. The Wraith Knight is going to be charging Zoanthropes. So we'll be back once we see what happens there. So you'll see that nothing has changed between the Wraith Knight and the Zoanthropes. That's because the charge was failed. Did not get enough. They don't have anything to shoot with anyway, so everything is as it was as we move into turn 3 for the Tyranids. End of movement and psychic for Tyranid turn 3. As you can see, the objective is getting swarmed. The Hive Tyrant tried to do smite, but it was dispelled. Sorry, you know what I mean. Countered, whatever, by the Spirit Seer over there. Over here, the Wraith Knight was utterly destroyed by smite from the Swarmlord. It did not titanically collapse, so it didn't explode. Deny the Witch, that's what I was blanking on. It was annoying me that I couldn't remember the game term. Over here, everything else is swarming the Wave Serpent. It had another 2 wounds plinked off of it by smite from the Zoanthropes. So that takes us to the shooting, and the only shooting is going to be the Thornback on the Wave Serpent. Oh, actually no, and the Tyranid Warriors will as well. I don't think that'll be enough to get through the Serpent Shield, but it'll soften it up potentially for it to get destroyed in combat. So after a very quick shooting phase, as explained, the Thornback shot into the Wave Serpent, as did the Tyranid Warriors with their Devourers and the one with the Venom Cannon. It's got 6 wounds remaining, so it's going to have to go down in combat. So in the charge phase, Zoanthropes maybe, but the Thornback definitely is charging, and we'll be back in a second to see if they're able to destroy it. So the end of turn 3 proper for the Tyranids. There was obviously a bunch of charges down here that totally forgot to mention in the last clip. The order in which they happened was important as well. So first of all, Deathleaper was the first one to declare charge, because the Hive Tyrant only had 1 wound. Overwatch was declared. He got obliterated by the Overwatch. Next, the Horror-Specs declared his charge. Overwatch did nothing to him. He made his charge, so then the Hive Tyrant was safe to make his charge without risk of losing the 1 wound. At the start of the fight phase, the Spirit Seer used his Systronome of Iyanden, which doubles the attacks of all the constructs in range. Then once the fight phase is over, the unit takes, any unit affected by it takes D3 wounds. Normal Wraithguard only had 1 attack, so it boosted them to 2, which wasn't fantastic. They put everything into the Horror-Specs come the time, and he's down to 11 wounds remaining. Prior to that though, 1 of them died to the Horror-Specs attacks. The Hive Tyrant's fighting weakly because he only has 1 wound, so I think he's hitting on 4. Well, actually it's not too terrible considering how wounded he is, because he's hitting on 4 still. Either way, there's still 4 of them alive, locked in combat. The Hive Tyrant should technically be up there, but wobbly model syndrome, same with the Horror-Specs. The Spirit Seer is not in combat. We come over this end of the table. The Thornback attacked. I can't remember if he actually did anything to the Wave Serpent or not. Either way, the Wave Serpent either still has or is down to 6 wounds remaining. It survived. Either way, it's going to be dropping off its cargo next as we go into the start of turn 3 for the Iyanden Eldar, and things are looking a little bit dicey. End of movement and psychic for the Iyanden Eldar turn 3. Smite has taken out the Hive Tyrant over there, so it's just the Horror-Specs pushing the point, although it's quite difficult for them to take him out in hand-to-hand combat. This Wraithguard unit, it was torn between backing them up or moving forwards, opted to move forwards. Over here, the Wave Serpent stayed still because it's acting as a barricade now to keep the Thornback at bay. It has dispatched the Wraith Blades, and they are going to be charging come the assault phase. As far as shooting, the only shooting that can happen is if any of them are in range of the Swarm Lords, so we'll be back really quick in a second. So due to the Wave Serpent still being locked in combat, the only shooting that could happen was over here, and 3 of them were within range to shoot the Wraith Cannons at the Swarm Lord. Got him down to 7 wounds, so not too bad. They got through his 4+ invulnerable. So now it's on to the assault phase. The Spirit Seer may or may not join the Horror-Specs, haven't decided yet, but obviously the Wraith Blades will be charging the Tyranid Warriors and taking some Overwatch from them on the way in. So at the halfway point of the match proper, as it's the end of Eldar turn 3, as you can see here, the Wraith Blades, they took a wound on the way in, but they obliterated the Tyranid Warriors and are now claiming the enemy objective. Over here, the Thornback didn't do anything to the Wave Serpent. Wave Serpent did nothing back. And then finally, the important combat is over here, because the Horror-Specs did not take any wounds from the Wraith Guard. He ate 3 of them. He regened a wound as a result, so he's back up to 12 out of 13. Now, this is where the wording of the objective comes into play, because the Spirit Seer did not charge and he is holding that objective right there. We go back to Invasion. A player wins immediately if they control both objective markers at the end of their opponent's turn. It doesn't say at the end of a game turn, ergo the Tyranids get 1 more turn to change the situation. That basically boils down to the Horror-Specs kills that Wraith Guard, consolidates 3, they've got 1 model each, so technically nobody is controlling that objective because they're both equally contesting. That's our understanding of it. which would make it a stalemate essentially, unless the Tyranids up the other end of the table killed the Wraith Blades, because it doesn't look like everything left for the Eldar is too slow to get back down here to make a difference. So it just comes down to whether one Wraith Guard can weather a storm. Very unlikely, but that said, we're going into turn 4 for the Tyranids. At the end of turn 4, movement and psychic for the Tyranids, the Swarmlord is just moving in on the Wraithguard here. Smite, got a super smite, but then only got 2 wounds, so 2 wounds on the closest one there. Smite from the Zoanthropes, the Wave Serpent was slightly closer, so I had to go on it. It did 2, but presumably Serpent Shield still applies because it's damaged, so it only did 1 wound, put it on 5. And we already know what's happening. Essentially, it comes down to, well, the Swarmlord is going to charge in the assault phase, just because. But we know it comes down to what happens with the horror specs. It's got 4d3 attacks to do 3 wounds to 1 Wraithguard if it somehow manages to fail, which it probably won't. But if it does, then it's game over. If it succeeds, well, we're not sure what will happen. So we'll be back after the assault phase. And as you can see, the horror specs has failed. I think it had 8 attacks in total from the D3s on its base attacks if it's using its Ravenous Maw. Its hits did okay. It came down to 3 wounds, which become 4 pluses because AP -1. Saved 2 of them, 1 wound, left the Wraithguard on 2 wounds remaining. Impossible for him to kill the horror specs, but it doesn't matter because they're at range. The Spirit Seer is claiming the objective there. So that brings us, it doesn't matter about the other combats, we haven't even done them, just started with this because the turn will end with Eldar holding both. So it's not even on a technicality, it's just on the statement of the objective invasion right here. Even though this is definitely going to be like a tabling of the Eldar if it continued a couple more turns, it doesn't matter because the game is over thanks to invasion. So that was an interesting one, and just for the fun of it, because the Swarmlord is such a beast in combat, just did this here. He didn't take any wounds on the charge, and then in combat he destroyed 3 of the Wraithguard before they obviously get a chance to fight back, and they've only got 1 attack each, so they can't kill him. So that was just a bit of fun, just also further confirming that if this came down to 6 turns, because keep in mind we're only at the top of turn 4, then the Eldar are getting wiped out. The final Wraithguard won't be lucky 2 turns in a row. The Spirit Seer will die in a turn to the horror specs. Swarmlord's going to finish off them. The Zoanthropes spamming Smite. Well, over here it's a little bit dicey. Obviously the Wave Serpent can't do much, and the Thornback is close to death. But at best, well, at best they could wipe out everything. I don't think they'd be able to take out the Wraith Blades. I think the Wraith Blades might actually get them. But if they did, then the best outcome would be a draw, had the game continued just based on purely objectives. But because of the stipulation of the randomized mission saying at the end of the enemy's turn, if you hold both you win, it ends early. That's the thing with these open war missions, which actually I don't mind. I don't mind the objectives that get it to end early, because sometimes you don't want a 3-hour game of 40k, and it gives you more determination to move and strike quickly. Like there was a lot of brave moves there. I'm not sure what could have been done different. Because as I say, like the Tyranids did exceptionally well from a I will murder you and eat you perspective, but the Eldar got lucky with the objective grabbing. If the Wave Serpent had been targeted early, then things might have been different, because obviously it's only the Wraith Blades that made it up here. The Wraith Knight just got destroyed by the Swarmlord. It was ridiculous how easy it wounded it. Although at the end of the day it doesn't have an invulnerable. So, well, you can have it with one, but the setup used here did not. That was fun. It was a little short, but fun. So the Eldar will be taking a little bit of a break now, I think. I'm not sure who's going to be playing next on the Pumpkin Planet, but we'll see in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the time here today. Go check out the other videos if you want to see other battle reports of various tabletop games. We will see you in the future. Ta for now.